A guy was sleeping in class. Everybody kept shouting his name again and again, trying to wake him up because the teacher was getting really angry. What nobody realized, though, was that this guy was already dead. There was a poison needle lodged in his head. No hope, no chance of waking up. But then, he opened his eyes. The moment he wakes up, memories come flooding back. He remembers being betrayed by someone truly close to him. That betrayal got him killed, and even in his final moments, after self-destructing together with the demonic overlords, the betrayer, and the traitor, he still desperately yearned to live again. Now, somehow, he has another chance. The body is different. The era is different. Everything around him is different, and he's gonna make the most of it. Not only will he avenge the humiliation suffered by this body's original owner, Lu Donglai, but he will also settle the grudges from his own past life. Then he suddenly notices something, the poison needle. Almost instantly, he realizes this must have been what killed the original owner. The only reason the body is still moving right now is because of his divine soul. Taking a closer look, he quickly figures out that Lu Donglai was never the fool everyone believed him to be. Others may not be able to see it. He can. Someone deliberately planted a poison needle deep inside Lu Donglai's brain, constantly stimulating his nerves. The technique is precise, cruel, and definitely not the work of an ordinary person. Knowing that, he immediately decides the needle has to be removed as soon as possible. He is Yi Tianji, a man who always repaid his debts. Since he's using Lu Donglai's body, he'll naturally help him grow stronger. And as for the person responsible for all of this, that one just cannot be allowed to get away with this. But just as he stands up from his seat and prepares to leave, the teacher suddenly shouts at him and demands to know what he's doing before ordering him to sit down immediately. Yi Tianji instantly dislikes that. He thinks it's unbelievable that a teacher would casually call a student an idiot and concludes that this is a teacher with no virtue at all. Meanwhile, the teacher is left completely confused as he watches Lu Donglai silently walk away without saying a single word. As he walks away, Yi Tianji finds the whole situation ridiculous because he was once the sect master of a powerful sect with countless disciples beneath him. The idea that a mere teacher expects a response from him is, in his eyes, laughable. Meanwhile, the teacher gets even angrier and keeps shouting after him. He calls Lu Donglai outrageous and demands to know how he dares ignore his words. But Yi Tianji pays no attention. From now on, he will live in this world with dignity using Lu Donglai's identity. There is no longer any Yi Tianji. From this moment onward, only Lu Donglai remains. As the new Lu Donglai walks around outside, he starts observing the world around him. This world is surprisingly convenient, even without cultivation. Using his spiritual power, he begins sorting through Lu Donglai's memories. Doing so isn't difficult, but the real problem is spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is the foundation of cultivation, yet the amount present on Earth is incredibly scarce. He concludes that if he relied solely on the spiritual energy available here, he probably wouldn't be able to return to the cultivation level of his previous life even after 10,000 years. Still, he decides there's no point worrying about that right now. The most urgent matter is dealing with the poison needle inside his head. Later, at Xiangjiang University's boys' dormitory, Lu Donglai finally returns to his room. As he enters, he checks the memories he obtained and realizes the process of removing the needle cannot be interrupted. Fortunately, 2 of his 3 roommates are still in class, while the third rarely stays in the dormitory anyway. There is still more than an hour before classes end, giving him enough time to act. After looking around, he decides to sit on the floor rather than on the bed. Since the needle is embedded quite deeply, he doesn't want to risk the bed breaking under the pressure during the process. Examining the situation further, he realizes the person who planted the needle knew exactly what they were doing. The needle wasn't designed to kill Lu Donglai immediately. Instead, it gradually made him foolish and simple-minded while remaining almost impossible to detect. Even CT scans wouldn't easily reveal its presence, leaving doctors unable to discover the real cause. But to Yi Tianji, the former sect master of the Tianji sect, this kind of trick is hardly worth mentioning. He doesn't need any special equipment or precise instruments. He simply sits down, enters meditation, and focuses inward as his divine soul begins cleansing everything within his body. As he continues focusing inward, Yi Tianji examines the poison needle more closely. He realizes it is as thin as silk and immediately concludes that the person who planted it must be an expert skilled in controlling qi. He says that using such a vicious method on a child is unforgivable, and if he ever finds the person responsible, he will definitely eliminate whoever that is. As he continues concentrating, the strain becomes visible on his face. Then, finally, the needle shoots out of his head and cracks the wall behind him. Soon, he begins feeling extremely exhausted. He admits that this body, after being damaged for so many years, is simply too weak. And then he collapses. Some time passes. Everything goes dark. When he finally opens his eyes again, he finds himself in a completely different place. As he grabs his head, he realizes exactly what happened. He says that he already knew the body was weak, but he definitely didn't expect removing a single needle to land him in a hospital. hospital. Then he notices a young woman sitting nearby. The moment she sees him awake, she immediately lights up with excitement. She tells him that he's finally awake and says that's wonderful news before rushing to call for a doctor. A doctor quickly arrives and examines him. After checking him over, he explains that the patient is perfectly fine and only suffering from a bit of mental exhaustion. His sister still looks worried and asks if her brother is really okay, wondering whether they should run a few more tests just to be safe. The doctor reassures her that everything is fine. He tells her to take him home, make sure he gets proper nutrition, and explains that they can process his discharge whenever they're ready. The moment she hears that, she starts crying tears of relief. She happily tells her brother that the doctor confirmed he's okay. Seeing that expression, Lu Donglai is stunned. He realizes he hasn't seen such a caring gaze in a very long time. As the former sect master of the Tianji sect, Yi Tianji spent thousands of years focused solely on cultivation. He says that he never expected to experience this kind of warmth again after so long. As memories continue surfacing, he recalls scenes from their childhood. Whenever bullies targeted him, his sister would step in front of him and tell them not to bully her brother. Only then does he fully understand her identity. She is Yi Qiqing, the daughter of his adoptive parents and the girl who grew up alongside him since childhood. Unlike everyone else, she never looked down on him for being considered an idiot. No matter what happened, she was always the one standing in front of him, protecting him. As for Lu Donglai's so-called biological parents, they abandoned him long ago. After he was diagnosed with mental retardation caused by the poison needle, they left him with his adoptive parents and never looked back. They showed no concern for him whatsoever and completely cut him out of their lives. As Lu Donglai processes these memories, he suddenly notices something interesting. In this new life, the girl who has always cared for him also carries the surname Yi. He can't help but think about what a strange coincidence that is. Meanwhile, Yi Qiqing thanks the doctor for everything, and the doctor leaves the room. Watching her, Lu Donglai silently makes a promise. He realizes that the foolish brother she knew is already gone. From now on, he is Lu Donglai, and in this life, he will never allow her to suffer any harm. The moment the doctor leaves, Yi Qiqing rushes forward and throws her arms around him. She tells him that he scared her to death and asks if he has any idea how worried she was. Trying to comfort her, Lu Donglai tells her to stop crying. He says that if she keeps going, she'll end up looking like a messy little cat. Then he points out that her brother is completely fine. Hearing that, Yi Qiqing looks up at him quietly, but then her expression changes. She suddenly tells him that he seems different. That instantly makes Lu Donglai a little nervous. Before he can react, she leans in even closer and carefully studies his face. Then she points out that his eyes seem completely different now. She says they look bright and full of spirit and asks if her brother is no longer foolish anymore. Lu Donglai doesn't hesitate. He tells her that she's right. Her brother is no longer an idiot. He says that he has become smart, and as for anyone who dares to harm them, he won't let a single one of them get away with it. And judging by the determination in his voice, he isn't saying it lightly. He is completely serious. The next day, at 7 a.m. in the cafeteria at Xiangjiang University, Lu Donglai is already drawing attention. The reason? The amount of food on his table is absolutely ridiculous. While everyone else is eating normal portions, Lu Donglai keeps piling food onto his tray and eating non-stop. Naturally, the students around him start talking. One wonders who that guy is, while another jokes that he must be some kind of glutton to be eating that much food. But Lu Donglai couldn't care less. As he continues eating, he reflects on his current situation. Although his sister was extremely worried about him and told him not to come to school today, he believes it's better to begin his counterattack sooner rather than later. With the poison needle gone, it's only a matter of time before people realize he is no longer the simple-minded Lu Donglai they knew before. More importantly, he knows this body is still far too weak. Around him, the gossip only gets louder. Someone finally recognizes him and points out that it's Lu Donglai. Another student jokes that he looks like the reincarnation of a starving ghost. Someone else mentions hearing that he once fainted from hunger in the dormitory. The entire area is filled with laughter and mockery. Yet Lu Donglai doesn't react at all. Compared to everything he experienced as the Tianji sect's master, these comments are basically background noise. Instead, he continues focusing on the real problem. He realizes he has no idea who the mastermind behind the poison needle is, which means he must remain cautious at all times. The faster he recovers his strength, the better. Later that afternoon, at 2 p.m. inside the Xiangjiang University Library, Lu Donglai can be seen buried beneath stacks of books. As he researches, he comes to an unfortunate conclusion. The spiritual energy in this world is simply too scarce. He realizes that if he continues relying on ordinary cultivation methods, advancing his cultivation will be nearly impossible. Even here, however, people continue making fun of him. One student is shocked to see Lu Donglai in the library, and wonders what he's doing there. Another jokes that the sun must have risen in the west if the campus idiot is suddenly visiting the library. Someone else assumes he's probably there to read comic books and points at the huge pile of books on his table, joking that reading that much might break his brain. Another student laughs and says Lu Donglai is probably just putting on a show to attract attention. But once again, none of it bothers him. Instead, he continues analyzing his options. He realizes that if traditional cultivation won't work, then he'll have to rely on herbs instead. The problem is that the spiritual herbs and immortal medicines from the cultivation world don't exist here. Because of that, he decides he'll need to find ordinary herbs with similar properties and modify the original formulas into versions that can work in this world. Later, back in the student dormitory, Lu Donglai resumes his cultivation. As he examines his body more carefully, he discovers that the situation is even worse than he expected. The body's energy channels are almost completely blocked. Under normal circumstances, cultivation would be nearly impossible. As a result, he can only force energy through the blocked channels and gradually expel the remaining toxins that have accumulated inside his body over the years. As he continues cultivating, Lu Donglai realizes that simply removing the poison needle isn't enough. He concludes that if he doesn't clear out his body's blocked energy channels, he won't even be able to fight properly. With that in mind, he decides to take a risk. He gathers all the spiritual energy he has managed to collect over the past few days and decides to inject it into his energy channels all at once. The moment he does, immense pressure surges through his body. The process is incredibly painful, but he pushes through it, and then he finally breaks through. The first layer of chi condensation is achieved. Immediately, he notices the difference. Even though it's only the first layer, he realizes that his 5 senses have already surpassed the limits of ordinary people. He can now clearly perceive even the slightest movements within a 100-meter radius. The rustling of grass, the movement of the wind, everything falls within his awareness. At that moment, one of his roommates suddenly wakes up and notices him sitting on the balcony in the middle of the night. Still half asleep, the guy is completely startled and says that Lu Donglai nearly scared him to death. He asks why he's sitting on the balcony instead of sleeping and jokes about whether he's sitting there pondering the meaning of life. Lu Donglai doesn't respond. Another roommate also chimes in and tells their 4th brother to get some sleep since they still have classes tomorrow. This time, Lu Donglai simply agrees. But internally, he starts wondering if the disturbance from his breakthrough was louder than he thought. Then one of the roommates suddenly pauses and stares at him. For a brief moment, Lu Donglai becomes alert. He realizes that if his roommates discover he has regained his sanity and the news spreads, there is always the possibility that spies connected to the mastermind could hear about it. If that happens, his situation could become far more dangerous. Because of that, he immediately stays quiet and avoids drawing attention to himself. A second later, however, the roommate reveals what he was actually staring at. The guy tells him that he looks completely different and points out that he changed his hairstyle. He says that's probably why he suddenly seems more handsome. At that moment, Lu Donglai realizes he was overthinking things. The roommate had only noticed the new hairstyle his sister gave him. Then the guy immediately follows it up by joking that, handsome or not, Lu Donglai is still a little lacking compared to himself. Yeah, this man's confidence is truly something else. After saying that, the roommate tells him not to stay out on the balcony for too long and warns that catching a cold from the night wind wouldn't be worth it. Watching them, Lu Donglai realizes that his roommates genuinely cared about the original host. Even though people outside constantly mocked Lu Donglai, the people closest to him treated him surprisingly well. Still, he knows he can't rely on others forever. He understands that if he truly wants to protect the people he cares about, he must regain the cultivation realm he once possessed in his previous life. With that determination in his heart, Lu Donglai quietly looks up at the moon. Later the next morning, over at the girls' dormitory, Yi Keqing can't stop thinking about her brother. She remembers how he solved a 6-digit multiplication problem without even blinking an eye and can't help feeling impressed. A girl nearby notices the huge smile on her face and immediately starts teasing her. She asks if Keqing is dating someone. Keqing quickly denies it. She explains that the reason she's so happy is because her brother is normal now. Hearing that, the other girl looks surprised and mentions that she heard certain rumors about him, but Keqing immediately shuts that down. She says those rumors are nothing but slander and insists that her brother is actually a hidden dragon. She firmly believes that one day everyone will recognize it. Then her friend suddenly shows her something on her phone and tells her to look at it first. The moment Keqing sees the video, her expression changes. Apparently, Lu Donglai had been caught on camera practicing martial arts on the sports field, and someone uploaded the footage online just so people could make fun of him. After watching it, Keqing is completely stunned. All she can think about is the fact that her brother is out on the sports field practicing martial arts. Meanwhile, over on the sports field, the mockery continues as usual. One student points at Lu Donglai and laughs, saying that the idiot is practicing martial arts again. Another jokes about whether he really thinks he's some kind of martial arts master. The surrounding laughter spreads quickly, but Lu Donglai pays none of them any attention. Instead, he focuses entirely on his training. As he practices, he reflects on the true dragon fist. Although it is only a foundational technique, he considers it the best choice for tempering the physical body. He admits that his current strength is nowhere near what he possessed in his previous life. Even so, just then, he suddenly notices someone standing nearby. At first, he wonders whether he might be blocking the person's path. He turns and takes a proper look at the newcomer. The man is staring directly at him with a serious expression. Seeing that, Lu Donglai asks who he is and whether he's looking for him. The man studies him for a moment before commenting that he looks quite different from an ordinary idiot. However, the moment Lu Donglai notices the man's predatory red eyes, he immediately gets a bad feeling. He can only let out a sigh, and in his mind, he realizes that this is going to be a pain. Lu Donglai lets out a sigh, but the guy standing in front of him immediately starts making his intentions clear. He introduces himself as Lin Qin and warns Lu Donglai to stay away from Yi Qiqing. He goes on to insult him, calling him a stupid piece of trash and an abandoned pawn who would only drag her down. Hearing that, Lu Donglai is genuinely speechless. He can't help finding the situation absurd. He reflects on how he was once the dignified sect master of the Tianji sect. Back then, countless immortals and powerful figures lined up just for the chance to pay their respects to him. And now, a random college student is standing in front of him pointing fingers and lecturing him. The contrast is honestly wild. Still, Lu Donglai remains calm. He explains that Yi Qiqing is his sister and that whoever she likes has nothing to do with him. As far as he's concerned, Lin Qin can leave. The moment Lin Qin hears that, he immediately asks whether that means Lu Donglai is giving up on her. But Lu Donglai has a completely different concern. He thinks that since Yi Qiqing is now his sister, he naturally has to consider her future. Then he tells Lin Qin that whoever Yi Qiqing likes is entirely her own choice. However, as for Lin Qin himself, he bluntly states that Lin Qin isn't worthy of his sister. That answer nearly makes Lin Qin choke. He can't believe what he just heard and immediately questions how he could possibly be unworthy. Meanwhile, Lu Donglai silently evaluates him. Back in the Tianji sect, he never cared about status or background. As long as someone had talent and potential, he was willing to nurture them wholeheartedly. But the person standing before him now, in Lu Donglai's eyes, this guy wouldn't even qualify to do miscellaneous chores in the Tianji sect. Forget becoming his sister's partner. Not even close. Naturally, Lin Qin is furious after hearing this. Unable to hold himself back any longer, he suddenly launches a punch straight at Lu Donglai and demands a spar right there on the spot. The attack catches everyone's attention, but Lu Donglai immediately notices something else. Not only was it a sneak attack, but it also revealed Lin Qin's character. He can't help remembering that when he was sect master, even emperors treated him with the utmost respect. It's been a very long time since someone tried to punch him in the face so casually. The next second, Lin Qin's expression changes completely. Before his punch can land, Lu Donglai effortlessly catches his hand. Lin Qin is instantly horrified. Then comes the counterattack. Using the true dragon fist, Lu Donglai strikes back. Lin Qin cries out in pain and drops to his knees on the spot. The nearby students are completely confused. One asks what just happened. Another immediately recognizes Lin Qin and points out that he's from the sports department. Meanwhile, Lu Donglai remains perfectly calm. In his eyes, a mortal trying to challenge a cultivator is simply laughable. He reflects that the ignorant truly are fearless. Lin Qin remains kneeling on the ground, breathing heavily and struggling to recover. At the same time, Lu Donglai's thoughts drift back toward cultivation. He reviews the realms once again: chi condensation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, soul formation, tribulation, and finally transcendence. Compared to that endless path, he is still only at the first layer of chi condensation. But even so, he knows one thing for certain. Against an ordinary mortal like Lin Qin, that is already more than enough. By now, passersby have started gathering around the scene. One of them rushes over and asks if student Lin Qin is alright. As the crowd gathers around, some students immediately rush over to check on Lin Qin. One asks whether he needs help, while another looks concerned and offers assistance. Trying to save face, Lin Qin quickly says he's fine. He claims that he was only sparring with someone and must have accidentally injured a bone. The students are completely confused. One of them asks if he's seriously talking about sparring with Lu Donglai. Another can't believe it and points out that the person he's talking about is supposed to be the campus idiot. Lin Qin insists that it's nothing serious and says he'll just visit the infirmary later for treatment. But despite what he's saying, his attention is completely focused on Lu Donglai. The look Lu Donglai gave him moments ago is still burned into his mind. That wasn't the look of a normal student. That was the look of someone who had seen countless life and death battles. The more he thinks about it, the more unsettled he becomes. He starts questioning everything everything he's heard about Lu Donglai. Who exactly called this guy an idiot? How could a student possibly have such a terrifying gaze? The fear eventually gets the better of him. With none of his previous confidence remaining, he cautiously asks whether he's allowed to leave now. The surrounding students are stunned. One can't believe that Lin Qin is actually asking Lu Donglai for permission. Another has no idea what's going on anymore. Meanwhile, Lu Donglai remains calm. He points out that Lin Qin doesn't even seem clear about his relationship with Yi Qiqing. Then he starts piecing things together. In his view, there is no way someone would come looking for trouble without a reason. So he directly tells Lin Qin that he probably still hasn't realized he's being used as someone else's weapon. Then he demands a name. The moment he hears that, Lin Qin becomes even more frightened. At this point, he realizes he really was being played. Unable to hide it anymore, he reveals that the person behind everything is Lin Nanhong from the freshman department of economics and management. According to him, Lin Nanhong had provided numerous photos of Lu Donglai and Yi Qiqing together. Just as the truth comes out, a familiar voice suddenly calls out for Lu Donglai. Before anyone can react, Lin Qin immediately says he'll even accompany them to settle the matter with Lin Nanhong. The owner of that voice soon arrives. It's Yi Qiqing. The moment she reaches her brother, she immediately starts checking him over. Clearly worried, she asks whether he's alright and looks him up and down to see if he's been injured. She then asks if Lin Qin hurt him. Lu Donglai calmly tells her not to worry. He reassures her that he's perfectly fine and then asks why she didn't sleep a little longer since it's still so early. But Yi Qiqing isn't interested in discussing that right now. She immediately turns toward Lin Qin. Then she firmly reminds him that she's already told him many times that she doesn't like him. She warns him that if he dares cause trouble for her brother again, she won't let him off. At this point, Lin Qin wants absolutely no part of this situation anymore. He quickly agrees and says he's leaving right away. As he walks off, he can't help thinking that he isn't the one looking for trouble anymore. In fact, if Lu Donglai doesn't come looking for him, he'll be thanking the heavens. After Lin Qin finally leaves, the atmosphere relaxes a little. That's when Yi Qiqing suddenly remembers something. She tells her brother that she wants to introduce someone. Standing beside her is her best friend, Gu Rou. Yi Qiqing introduces her, and Gu Rou politely greets Lu Donglai with a simple hello. After seeing Gu Rou, Lu Donglai immediately notices something unusual about her. As he examines her more carefully, he realizes she possesses a pure in physique and severely stagnated meridians. In his eyes, it's a very serious condition. He can't help feeling that it's a shame. Although Gu Rou is a beautiful girl, he concludes that she doesn't have much time left. He also realizes that if he still possessed the strength from his peak days, saving her wouldn't have been difficult. Unfortunately, his current cultivation is far too low. Right now, there is nothing he can do. As Lu Donglai continues analyzing her condition, Gu Rou starts feeling a little uncomfortable under his gaze and becomes slightly confused. A moment later, Lu Donglai turns and prepares to leave. Noticing this, Yi Qiqing immediately asks what's wrong. Lu Donglai simply tells her that it's nothing. At the same time, he makes up his mind. Gu Rou may be his sister's friend, but the more urgent issue right now is dealing with the people targeting him from the shadows. First, he needs to find out whether the person behind today's incident has any connection to whoever planted the poison needle years ago. As for Yi Qiqing's friend, he believes he will eventually become strong enough to deal with her physique problem later. Changing the subject, he suddenly asks where the Department of Economics and Management is located. Yi Qiqing points toward a red building in the distance and tells him that's where the department is. Then she becomes curious and asks why he's looking for the Department of Economics and Management in the first place. But Lu Donglai doesn't answer directly. As he walks away, he reflects on his next move. One by one, he intends to drag out every person trying to scheme against him from the shadows. Meanwhile, Yi Qiqing and Gu Rou remain standing where they are, watching him leave. After observing him for a while, Yi Qiqing quietly remarks that her brother really is different now. At the Xiangjiang University classroom for the Department of Economics and Management, a group of students are discussing recent events. One mentions that Lin Kuan was beaten badly enough to end up in the infirmary. Another dismisses Lu Donglai as nothing more than an abandoned pawn putting on an act. According to him, this is probably just another move by the Lu family. Someone else comments that it was fortunate Brother Hong convinced Lin Kuan to test the waters first. Lin Nanong nods in agreement. He says his brother is right and claims the Lu family is definitely using Lu Donglai to carry out some kind of scheme behind the scenes. Then crack, he slams a hand onto the desk, breaking it. Even so, he says it's nothing worth worrying about. According to him, he personally intends to pull out this hidden piece for the Lin family. It's also the perfect opportunity to let everyone know that he, Lin Nanong of the Lin family, is studying at this university. As far as he's concerned, whether Lu Donglai is an idiot or an abandoned pawn doesn't matter. He's nothing more than an ant that can be crushed at any time. Just then, the classroom door opens. Lu Donglai walks in. The teacher immediately looks confused and tells him that class is about to begin. If he's not a student of this class, he needs to leave immediately. Before the teacher can finish speaking, Lu Donglai asks a single question. Who is Lin Nanong? The entire classroom turns toward him. One girl quietly wonders who the handsome guy at the door is and asks whether he's from their department. Another student stares for a moment. Then recognition hits. That's Lu Donglai, the abandoned pawn everyone keeps talking about. Lin Nanong notices him as well. Even he didn't expect Lu Donglai to walk straight into his classroom. The room immediately fills with whispers. Before anyone can react further, a student suddenly steps forward and says that Lu Donglai isn't worthy of causing trouble for Brother Lin. Another joins him and says he'll have to get past them first. The two immediately rush forward and throw punches. Lu Donglai doesn't even blink. Too slow. To him, the attacks of ordinary mortals move in slow motion. He casually sidesteps both punches, then swings his hand. Smack. One student is sent flying straight into the other. The two crash together and hit the ground in a heap, crying out in pain. The entire classroom falls silent. Lu Donglai slowly looks around the room. Then he repeats himself one more time. Whoever is called Lin Nanong step forward. Everyone is surprised by the display of strength. One girl asks if that is really Lu Donglai. Another points out how formidable his strength is, saying he knocked someone down almost instantly. But someone reminds the crowd that Lin Nanong comes from a military family. Another says that not only is his background powerful, but his own strength is extraordinary as well. Someone else insists that even if Lu Donglai can fight, he is absolutely not Lin Nanong's match. Then Lin Nanong steps forward. He says that everyone underestimated Lu Donglai before and introduces himself as Lin Nanong. As he speaks, he takes off his shirt. One student comments that despite looking refined and elegant, Lin Nanong has an incredible physique. Another says Lin Nanong is truly angry this time and that Lu Donglai is finished. Just as they are about to fight, a teacher steps between them and demands to know what they are doing. Lin Nanong raises a hand and tells the teacher not to be nervous. He says it will be over quickly and asks Lu Donglai whether they should go to the playground or somewhere else. Lu Donglai refuses. There is no need. Right here is fine. Then he asks why Lin Nanong has been targeting him and who is behind him. He even says that if Lin Nanong answers honestly, he might go a little easier on him. Lin Nanong immediately gets irritated. He says this is the first time he has met someone arrogant enough to speak to him like that. Then he says Lu Donglai is about to learn that some people simply cannot be provoked. With that, he rushes forward and throws a serious punch straight at Lu Donglai. In his eyes, Lu clearly has no intention of cooperating. The punch flies directly toward Lu Donglai's face. Lu Donglai takes one look at it. Nothing but brute force. No technique. No refinement. Just raw power. He reaches out and catches it. That's it. The punch stops. Lin Nanong freezes. He tries to pull his arm back. Nothing. He pulls harder. Still nothing. Lu Donglai's grip is like a pair of iron pliers. For the first time, Lin Nanong starts getting nervous. Then Lu Donglai attacks. No fancy move. Just a kick. Boom. Lin Nanong is launched across the room. Desks explode apart as he crashes through them one after another before slamming into the wall beneath a window. Silence. Then the room erupts. One student blurts out a stunned reaction. A girl shouts that Lin Nanong was kicked flying. The teacher immediately points at Lu Donglai and says he publicly injured another student. He declares that he is reporting this straight to the school. The surrounding students stare at the scene. One wonders if their eyes are playing tricks on them. After all, the person who just kicked Lin Nanong across the room was supposed to be the campus idiot, Lu Donglai. The crowd can't stop talking. One student says that with Lin Nanong getting beaten up like this, the Lin family definitely won't let it go. Another points out that even the school's teachers have to show the Lin family some respect. Someone else says Lu Donglai clearly doesn't know the difference between life and death. Another scoffs and says Lu Donglai acts like he's a member of the Lu family. In reality, he's just an abandoned pawn with way too much courage. But none of that matters right now. At this moment, Lin Nanong is the one on his knees in front of Lu Donglai. Lu Donglai looks down at him and figures that the person who instigated all of this is probably connected to the Lin family. That immediately makes Lin Nanong nervous. He asks what Lu Donglai is planning to do. Lu Donglai reaches down and helps him to his feet. Then he tells him that if he has the ability in the future, he should come at him directly and stop dragging his family into it. The next second, Lin Nanong cries out and drops back to the ground. Lu Donglai had grabbed both of his arms, dislocated them. Then he calmly asks if he yields. Lin Nanong doesn't hesitate. He immediately says he yields. Again and again and again. He promises he won't dare do this anymore and says he'll stay far away from the Lu family from now on. Lu Donglai corrects him. His family is the Yi family. Lin Nanong quickly changes his answer and says he'll stay far away from the Yi family instead. Only then does Lu Donglai say good. As for Lu Donglai, he understands exactly what almost happened. This time, someone used Lin Qin to target him. If he hadn't been strong enough, Lin Qin would have continued bothering his sister. With that matter settled, Lu Donglai turns and leaves. Nobody says a word. Even the teacher stays silent. Behind him, Lin Nanong is still lying on the ground. Only after Lu Donglai disappears does Lin Nanong finally explode. He yells at everyone, asking what they're standing around for, and tells them to hurry up and take him to the hospital. One student awkwardly agrees. The teacher finally snaps out of it as well. He immediately declares that a student openly beating and injuring someone in broad daylight deserves a major demerit. Then he asks who that student even is. A nearby student quickly answers. He tells the teacher that the person is their school's famous idiot, Lu Donglai. The teacher pauses. An idiot? He finds that hard to believe. A moment ago, that student casually beat Lin Nanong and walked away without a trace of fear. Yet everyone keeps calling him an idiot. The teacher can't make sense of it. If Lu Donglai really isn't an idiot, then how could he be so arrogant? And if he is an idiot, then what exactly did everyone just witness? A little later, in another classroom, a girl suddenly rushes over to Yi Keqing and tells her to check the campus network because her brother has apparently gone crazy. Confused, Keqing asks what happened. The girl immediately shows her phone. The post's title reads, "The idiot shows his might, Lin Nanong insta-killed." The comments section is having a field day with it. After seeing the video, Keqing doesn't look worried at all. Instead, she smiles and says her brother is so cool. A nearby girl quickly reminds her that Lin Nanong comes from a military family. She warns that beating someone like him could lead to serious trouble. That finally makes Keqing nervous. She immediately says she needs to warn her brother and starts calling him. As Lu Donglai walks outside, a campus announcement suddenly plays overhead. The notice states that sophomore student Lu Donglai is receiving a major demerit for gathering a crowd to fight on campus and seriously disrupting school order. His phone starts ringing. Lu Donglai glances at it and answers. As for the demerit, he honestly couldn't care less. He wonders what something like that has to do with him. The call connects. Keqing immediately asks whether he can hear her. Lu Donglai tells her he can and asks why she's shouting so loudly. She tells him he shouldn't be so calm. Then she reminds him exactly who Lin Nanong is, a member of a military family. She warns that the Lin family will definitely seek revenge. Lu Donglai remains completely unfazed. He tells her that when soldiers come, generals block them. When water comes, earth covers it. To him, this is nothing. After all, he spent 5,000 years on the path of cultivation. Compared to the mountains of corpses and seas of blood he crossed in his previous life, this level of trouble hardly registers. Keqing isn't convinced. She immediately tells him not to go anywhere over the next few days and to stay safely inside the school. Lu Donglai casually informs her that she's already too late. He's left the campus. That answer nearly gives her a heart attack. She immediately says that wherever he's going, she's coming too. Lu Donglai simply replies that he's going to become stronger. In a hospital room, Lin Nanong lies in bed while his family discusses what happened. A woman furiously calls the incident lawless and demands to know how Lu Donglai dared to openly attack someone at school. She is absolutely furious. Lin Nanong, however, is worried about something else. He tells her not to inform his father or his older brother. He says he wants to cripple Lu Donglai with his own hands. Another man in the room speaks up. He scoffs at the idea that an abandoned pawn of the Lu family would dare touch his nephew. Lying in bed, Lin Nanong silently swears that this grudge must be repaid. Otherwise, he won't have the face to remain at Shangjiang University. Lu Donglai reaches a similar conclusion from the opposite side. He knows his opponents aren't ordinary people. Their abilities may be limited in his eyes, but he absolutely cannot be careless. His current strength is still far from enough. He needs to improve fast. This body is simply too weak, which means it's time for the next step of his plan. Standing by the roadside, he raises a hand and stops a taxi. After getting inside, he tells the driver to take him to the nearest traditional Chinese medicine shop. As the taxi heads toward its destination, Lu Donglai continues planning his next move. After refining the pill, he believes his physique may be able to awaken even further. At Longxiang Traditional Chinese Medicine Shop, the receptionist is already looking overwhelmed when Lu Donglai starts listing herbs. Licorice, alocasia, corydalus, gardenia, goji berry, star jasmine. The receptionist is completely confused. Without any prescription, Lu Donglai simply lists herb after herb and tells them to pack everything up. The receptionist can't help wondering whether this guy is actually some kind of professional. Lu Donglai doesn't explain anything. He simply places the money on the counter and tells them that's all he needs. After buying the herbs, he leaves the shop. The people nearby quietly watch him pass. Lu Donglai begins calculating his situation. If the pill refining succeeds, his strength will definitely improve again. The problem is money. The cash he just spent was supposed to cover 2 months of living expenses. Now it's gone. Every last bit of it. Worse yet, he still needs a quiet place to refine the pills. And he doesn't even have enough money left to rent a room. Just then, a familiar voice calls out to him. Ikikiing. She runs over and says she finally found him. Then she immediately starts complaining, asking whether he forgot that she told him not to run around outside. Seeing the large bag of herbs, she even asks if he's planning to rob a pharmacy. Lu Donglai ignores that part completely. Instead, he tells her that she arrived at the perfect time. Then he asks if she can lend him some money. Both Yi Qiqing and Gu Rou freeze. Apparently, that was the last thing they expected to hear. Lu Donglai explains that he needs to rent a room to process the herbs. Yi Qiqing checks her wallet. After counting what she has, she says there's only a little over 1,000 yuan. Then she asks whether it's enough. Lu Donglai takes a look and admits that it's still a bit short. Hearing that, Yi Qiqing starts thinking. Her brother has almost never taken the initiative to ask the family for money. If he's doing it now, these herbs must be important to his recovery. Before she can say anything else, Gu Rou suddenly speaks up. She says she happens to have more than 4,000 yuan on her card and offers to lend it to him. Then she hands over the card. She even gives him the password and tells him not to make Qiqing worry. For a moment, Lu Donglai doesn't know what to say. As he looks at Gu Rou, he once again notices the condition of her body. Pure in physique, in energy penetrating the bones. From his judgment, if an expert doesn't help extend her life, she likely won't live past the age of 22. After a brief pause, Lu Donglai thanks her. He promises that he will return the money within half a month. Gu Rou simply tells him there's no rush and that he can take his time paying it back. Even as she says it, she finds herself wondering why she trusted him so easily. After all, the confidence coming from Lu Donglai right now doesn't really match his situation. Yet somehow, she handed over the card anyway. Looking at the money and Gu Rou's bank card, Lu Donglai falls into thought. To a cultivator, 4,000 yuan is insignificant. Dust. But to Gu Rou, this is practically her entire net worth. Originally, he had no intention of getting involved in her affairs. But now things are different. He owes her a favor. Perhaps this is karma. He concludes that Gu Rou possesses a pure in physique and was born with terminal meridians. For most people, a condition like that would be hopeless. But in his eyes, it's not impossible. He decides that since he has accepted this karma, helping her live a long life is hardly a difficult task. Soon after, Lu Donglai arrives at a secluded rental property. Looking around the room, he asks the landlord whether the rent is 600 yuan per month. The elderly landlord smiles and confirms it. Then he explains that the payment is 2 months deposit plus 1 month's rent upfront. 1,800 yuan. Pay that and he can move in immediately. Lu Donglai quickly calculates his finances. After paying the rent, he'll still have enough money left to buy a few additional materials. But money isn't the real issue. Strength is. The faster he becomes stronger, the faster he can make money. After entering the room, he takes a look around. The place is run down. Very run down. Still, for refining medicine, it's enough. Without wasting time, he immediately gets to work. As he prepares the ingredients, he reflects on the essentials of pill refining. Besides the pill formula itself, 3 things matter most: the quality of the herbs, control of the heat, and properly stimulating the medicinal properties. Then he gives a simple command. Rise. The ingredients begin moving. As the refinement process starts, Lu Donglai carefully analyzes each herb. Some require roasting, others must be dissolved in water, others need to be neutralized before they can be used. He also realizes how troublesome Earth's environment has become. The spiritual energy is nearly exhausted. Because of that, he can't be overly demanding about ingredient quality. Fortunately, his knowledge makes up for it. This is only a qi condensation pill, a beginner-level pill. As long as the heat is controlled correctly, refining it is straightforward. With precise control over every step, the process moves smoothly. To him, it feels as easy as turning over his hand. Then, knock, knock. A loud pounding suddenly comes from the door. Lu Donglai pauses. The sounds of pill refining aren't loud, and he only moved in recently. Nobody should even know he's here, so who would be banging on the door like this? The visitor clearly isn't here with good intentions. Before he can think further, boom! A violent kick smashes the door open. Several goons storm into the room. One of the goons looks around the shabby room and complains that Lu Donglai actually hid in such a rundown place, making it a pain for them to find him. Then the boss goon points straight at him. He says that's the guy. Immediately, the goons start advancing with baseball bats in hand. One of them bluntly says they should cripple him. Lu Donglai glances at them and immediately realizes the timing couldn't be worse. The pill refinement has just reached its most critical stage. Then he calmly tells them that, unfortunately, he doesn't have time to waste on them right now. As he moves the cooker aside, the goons are briefly confused. Then they charge anyway. Lu Donglai moves first. He grabs two of them by the head. First form of the true dragon fist, dragon coil. The next second, he spins them around. Fast. The two goons immediately start smashing into the others. Baseball bats fly everywhere. People crash into each other, one after another. Then they all collapse to the floor. Even so, the move puts a heavy burden on his body. This body is still too weak. Then Lu Donglai notices something unusual. There are spiritual energy fluctuations coming from the boss goon. For a moment, he wonders whether cultivators still exist on Earth. The boss goon steps forward and remarks that Lu Donglai actually remained standing after taking his elbow strike. He comments that his skin is surprisingly tough. Lu Donglai immediately moves again. The boss goon throws a kick. Lu Donglai dodges. As he exchanges blows, he reaches a conclusion. The boss goon isn't a cultivator. The spiritual energy inside him cannot be projected outward. Instead, it resembles the result of years of physical training that naturally condense traces of the chi of heaven and earth. Only then does Lu Donglai realize something. He underestimated this world. According to the memories he inherited, the boss goon should be what people here call a martial artist. Martial artists constantly temper their bodies and can absorb a small amount of spiritual energy. They're nowhere near cultivators, but they're far stronger than ordinary people. The remaining goons rush in. Punches fly. Lu Donglai dodges every single one. He notes that while martial artists are far inferior to cultivators, their strength is indeed beyond that of normal mortals. Then one of the goons notices the cooker. He mocks Lu Donglai for protecting that broken pot so desperately, and then he kicks it. Lu Donglai's expression changes. That was the last thing he expected. The refinement process was almost complete. Only a little more heat was needed. Just a little. But in that brief moment of distraction, the goon finds an opening. His fist slams directly into Lu Donglai's chest. He asks what could possibly be inside that pot that was worth exposing such a huge weakness. Bang. Lu Donglai is blasted backward. He crashes into the wall. Smoke and dust fill the room. The goons stare at the impact site. Then, through the dust, a faint smile appears. Lu Donglai slowly raises a pill. Although the refinement lacked a final bit of heat, he says it can still be considered a success. Without hesitation, he swallows it. The atmosphere changes instantly. Even the goon who landed the punch feels it. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Spiritual energy erupts from Lu Donglai's body. His aura surges upward. Then he calmly declares that he will use this martial artist as a test subject for his strength after reaching the second layer of chi condensation. The goon stares at Lu Donglai. Something feels wrong. Very wrong. He can't understand how the same person from a moment ago is suddenly giving off such an imposing aura. It's like he's facing a completely different person. Then Lu Donglai looks at him and asks a simple question. Is he ready to die? The goon's heart skips a beat. He immediately decides he can't afford to wait any longer. If he's going to attack, it has to be now. He launches forward and uses mountain pushing palm. Lu Donglai watches the attack arrive. Then he casually swats it aside. That's it. Just one motion. As he does, he realizes something. Back in the immortal cultivation world, he never paid attention to such low realms. Now, experiencing it firsthand, he finally understands. The gap between the first and second layer of chi condensation is enormous. The goon crashes to the ground. His arm hangs limply at his side. He screams and says that this cannot possibly be the strength of a college student. Then he demands to know who Lu Donglai really is. Lu Donglai doesn't answer. Instead, he reaches out. An aura hand forms. The next second, the goon is lifted off the ground by the neck and slammed against the wall. Lu Donglai tells him to shut up. Then he says that nobody in this world has the right to question him. The goon struggles to breathe. Lu Donglai points at a nearby table and asks who sent them to take him out. Then he warns that if the goon refuses to answer, he'll end up just like the table. Bang. The table explodes apart. That does it. The goon immediately folds. He says he'll talk. He'll tell everything. According to him, Lin Nanong of the Lin family hired them. Then he desperately begs for his life and promises he'll never do this again. Hearing that, Lu Donglai confirms his suspicion. So it really was Lin Nanong. The retaliation came even faster than expected. The Lin family. Very well. He decides that this debt will be repaid in the future. With interest, the goon looks at him and starts pleading again. Since he has been honest, can he be let go now? Lu Donglai says he can, but only on one condition. The goon immediately braces himself. He already knows this isn't going to be that simple. Then Lu Donglai points around the room. The house he just rented is a mess. The walls are damaged. The furniture is wrecked. The door is gone. Since they destroyed it, they have to pay for it. The goon freezes. That's it? He actually just wants money? Lu Donglai asks whether there's a problem. The goon immediately shakes his head. No problem. no problem at all. Then he turns around and starts yelling at his own men. He tells them to get up and transfer the money to Master Lu immediately. The injured goons scramble to their feet. A few moments later, Lu Donglai checks his phone. 10,000 yuan has been transferred. The goon carefully asks whether they can leave now. Lu Donglai gives them a single answer: get lost. The entire group immediately runs for the door. No hesitation, no dignity, just gone. As they run away, one of the goons asks what they're supposed to do now. After all, young Master Lin's task still isn't finished. Boss Goon immediately shoots the idea down. He asks if the guy is planning to go back and fight Lu Donglai again. Nobody answers, because everyone already knows the answer. No chance. Then Boss Goon points out that being able to fight isn't everything. In this world, power and influence matter just as much. Back inside the room, Lu Donglai lets out a sigh. Looking at the mess around him, he can't help feeling annoyed. Originally, these pills should have been enough to push him into the third layer of chi condensation. Now, he can barely maintain the second layer, and even that isn't fully stabilized. He picks up the remaining pills, then swallows them all, one after another. He knows he has to stabilize his realm as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he could fall back to the first layer of chi condensation. With that, he immediately begins cultivating. Time passes. When Lu Donglai finally opens his eyes again, he discovers something unexpected. After breaking through and cleansing his body, he awakened a hidden bloodline that belonged to the original owner, the purple extreme demon eye. According to his understanding, this bloodline can see through the true essence of all things and reveal the original nature of any object. Lu Donglai activates it. The world changes. With a single glance, he can see through things around him. Everything becomes startlingly clear. The discovery catches even him by surprise. This is the kind of heaven-defying aptitude that he envied in his previous life. For once, the original owner left him something extraordinary, a blessing in disguise. A few moments later, he deactivates the ability. The burden is obvious. The purple extreme demon eye consumes an enormous amount of spiritual energy. At his current level, the second layer of chi condensation, he can only maintain it for a few minutes before exhausting himself. His strength is still far too weak. Then reality comes knocking again. Medicinal herbs, house repairs, living expenses, money, and more money. Lu Donglai lies on the floor and complains that this is the worst part about the mortal world. No matter what you do, money always becomes a problem. Just then, ding, a notification appears on his phone. He opens it. The article says that someone found a Ming Dynasty antique vase at an antique market and made a net profit of 10 million. Lu Donglai pauses. Then he smiles. For the first time in a while, now that he possesses the purple extreme demon eye, an antique market is practically a gold mine. Treasure hunting, that's the answer. Without wasting any time, he decides to head out immediately. Later, at West City Antique Market, Lu Donglai walks through the crowded streets. Stall after stall stretches before him. His only hope is that there are treasures hidden among all this junk. Taking a deep breath, he focuses his spiritual energy into his eyes. Purple extreme demon eye. The ability activates. Instantly, his vision changes, and this time he starts seeing a lot of things. As Lu Donglai arrives at one of the shops, the owner immediately starts promoting his merchandise. He tells Lu Donglai that a piece of blue and white porcelain on display came from an official Ming Dynasty kiln and says he's only asking 30,000 yuan for it. Lu Donglai activates the purple extreme demon eye and takes a glance. One look is enough. Fake. The artificial aging marks are obvious, so he bluntly says it's counterfeit and points out how crude the aging technique is. The shopkeeper almost rolls his eyes. In his mind, he's wondering why someone who can't even afford it is pretending to be an expert. Lu Donglai doesn't bother arguing. He simply keeps walking. As he examines stall after stall, he grows increasingly disappointed. Most of it is junk. The antique market really is a mixed bag. On top of that, the purple extreme demon eye consumes far too much spiritual energy. He can't afford to search aimlessly forever. Then he notices something, a faint fluctuation of spiritual energy. Immediately, he focuses his eyes. There it is, an ordinary-looking iron block. Inside it, however, is spiritual energy. The amount isn't large, but in a world where spiritual energy is nearly depleted, even this is incredibly rare. As he focuses on the item, someone walks past him. Lu Donglai glances over. A martial arts practitioner. That realization surprises him. There seem to be far more experts in this world than he initially expected. The shop owner notices him lingering and asks what he's interested in buying. Then he quickly adds that all prices are negotiable. Lu Donglai immediately realizes that too many people are watching. If he directly buys the iron block, it could attract unnecessary attention. So he casually asks for the prices of several items instead. The shopkeeper sizes him up. Then, in his mind, he decides this customer looks simple-minded enough to scam hard. He points at the items and starts listing prices. The necklace costs 1,000 yuan. The fan costs 1,800. The iron block costs 500. Lu Donglai immediately complains that the prices are outrageous and asks why the man doesn't just rob people outright. At the same time, he decides to use the fan as a cover. So he tells the shopkeeper that he really likes the fan. If the price can't be lowered, then the least the boss can do is throw in the iron block for free. The shopkeeper instantly agrees. No hesitation. As far as he's concerned, the iron block is worthless anyway. He picked it up at a construction site. Deal. As Lu Donglai walks away carrying his purchase, he can barely contain his satisfaction. He hit the jackpot. The spiritual energy inside that iron block is enough for him to refine a magical treasure. The shopkeeper is also smiling from ear to ear. Looking at the money he just made, he's convinced he successfully tricked an idiot. Meanwhile, Lu Donglai is thinking the exact opposite. Not only did he obtain the iron block he wanted, but the fan is actually a genuine antique. If he resells it, he could easily make over 100 times what he paid. Then a panic shout suddenly cuts through the market. Someone yells for help. Another voice shouts that a person has collapsed. People immediately start gathering around. An elderly man has fainted. A young man rushes to his side and desperately calls out to him. He keeps shouting for his grandfather and asking what happened. The young man immediately tells Chunyang to call an ambulance. Chunyang agrees and starts making the call. Lu Donglai notices the interaction as he walks away. The martial artist from earlier is taking orders from this young man without any hesitation. That alone tells him the young man's background is probably significant. Still, Lu Donglai doesn't care. None of that has anything to do with him. Right now, refining his magical artifact is far more important. So he continues walking. Then a voice suddenly rings out across the market. The young man announces that anyone who can save his grandfather will receive a reward of 100,000 yuan. Lu Donglai stops. 100,000 yuan. Now that's a different story. Immediately, he changes direction. Back at the crowd, Chunyang informs the young master that the ambulance will still take another 10 minutes to arrive. The young master knows they don't have that much time. He desperately asks whether there is a doctor nearby or anyone capable of providing first aid. Nobody steps forward. One person admits they aren't a doctor. Another points out that this is a matter of life and death. If something goes wrong, who would dare take responsibility? Someone else quietly says that the old man looks beyond saving. The young master's eyes start turning red. He asks whether there is really nobody who can save his grandfather. Then a voice cuts through the crowd. Someone tells everyone to move aside. The crowd parts. Lu Donglai walks forward. He calmly says that he can save him. The young master looks surprised and immediately asks whether he's a doctor. Lu Donglai tells him no. He's not a doctor, but he can save the old man. Chunyang instantly becomes suspicious. He tells Lu Donglai not to cause trouble and asks whether he can bear the responsibility if something goes wrong. Lu Donglai doesn't waste time arguing. Instead, he grabs Chunyang's arm and tells him that if they delay any longer, the old man really won't survive. Chunyang freezes. The strength in that grip catches him completely off guard. Before he knows it, he's already been pushed aside. At that moment, only one thought remains in his head. How does this kid have such strength? Ignoring him, Lu Donglai tells the young master to help the old man sit up. The young master immediately agrees. As the old man is supported upright, Lu Donglai examines his condition. The spiritual energy of the second layer of chi condensation is weak. Very weak, but it should still be enough to clear the blocked heart meridians. With that thought, he gathers spiritual energy into his arm, then strikes. Bang. The palm lands squarely on the old man's back. The old man's body lurches forward and collapses onto the ground. The young master immediately cries out for his grandfather. Chunyang's expression changes as well. He rushes forward and demands to know what Lu Donglai just did to old Master Han. But Lu Donglai doesn't react. He remains completely calm. Chunyang rushes toward Lu Donglai and prepares to throw a punch. Lu Donglai simply shifts slightly to the side. That's all. Chunyang immediately warns him not to think about running. Lu Donglai raises a finger and points it at him. Then he calmly tells Chunyang that this is his last chance. He advises him not to move. For a moment, Chunyang freezes. Something about Lu Donglai's gaze makes him hesitate. In the military, he had faced plenty of people before. Yet somehow, this college student in front of him feels different. Then a voice suddenly interrupts. Stop. Everyone turns. Old Master Han slowly opens his eyes. The young master immediately rushes over and asks whether his grandfather grandfather is awake. Old Master Han coughs a few times before sitting up. He says he feels much better now. Just moments ago, it felt as though a huge boulder was crushing his chest. Now the pressure is completely gone. Then he tells Chen Yang to stop. According to him, it was indeed Lu Donglai who saved his life. Chen Yang immediately backs down and acknowledges Elder Han's order. Old Master Han then turns toward Lu Donglai. He says that he will remember this life-saving grace for the rest of his life. Lu Donglai's response is simple. No need. Just give him the money. The people nearby immediately start whispering. One person wonders why this guy asks for money the moment he opens his mouth. Another points out that he really did save a life, so asking for the reward is perfectly reasonable. Lu Donglai reminds them that he only stepped in because of the promised 100,000 yuan. Then he asks whether they're planning to go back on their word. The young master immediately says of course not. Old Master Han bursts out laughing. He says he likes straightforward people. Then he tells Chen Yang to hand over the reward. Chen Yang agrees and takes out a bundle of cash. He hands over the money and says there is 100,000 yuan inside. He also thanks Lu Donglai for saving Elder Han. Lu Donglai simply replies that it was nothing. The crowd stares at the money. One person comments that it's a huge amount. Another says it's the first time they've ever seen so much cash in one place. Someone else remarks that this kid just got rich. Another quickly points out that Lu Donglai earned it with skills they couldn't possibly compare to. Looking at the cash in his hands, Lu Donglai finds himself a little surprised. People still carry this much cash around? This family is definitely extremely wealthy. With the matter resolved, Lu Donglai says they will meet again someday and prepares to leave. But before he can walk away, Old Master Han calls out to him. He asks the young man to wait a moment. Lu Donglai stops and turns around. Then he asks whether there is something else. Old Master Han explains that this isn't the first time his illness has flared up. According to the hospitals, it's an old cardiovascular and cerebrovascular condition. Can be controlled, not cured. But after experiencing what Lu Donglai did just now, he feels that it wasn't ordinary first aid. So he asks the question directly. Can Lu Donglai completely cure him? Lu Donglai remains silent for a moment. He examines the situation in his mind. Aging meridians, block chi and blood. To a cultivator, it's nothing more than an old age disease of a mortal. With his current cultivation and the right pill, completely curing it isn't difficult. Then he gives his answer. Yes. The young master is stunned. Even the hospital couldn't cure it. Yet Lu Donglai says he can? Lu Donglai simply replies that just because the hospital can't cure it doesn't mean he can't. Old Master Han gets straight to the point. How much money does he want? Lu Donglai raises one finger. Old Master Han looks confused. Then Lu Donglai explains. 100,000 yuan per year. In return, he guarantees another 20 years of life. The surrounding crowd immediately starts discussing it. One person quickly does the math. 20 years means 2 million yuan. Another says this kid really dares to ask for an outrageous price. Old Master Han laughs. Cheap, far too cheap. As he grabs Lu Donglai's hand, Lu Donglai is slightly surprised. 2 million yuan is considered cheap? Looks like this old man's background is even bigger than he thought. Old Master Han says he'll pay the full 2 million. The only problem is that he didn't bring that much cash with him today. He asks Lu Donglai for an account number so he can transfer the money tomorrow. Lu Donglai refuses. He doesn't accept credit. Instead, he tells Old Master Han to return in 2 days. Same place. Bring cash. Then he'll perform the treatment on the spot. Old Master Han agrees immediately. No problem. Then he asks how he should address this young benefactor. Lu Donglai simply says his surname is Lu. With that, he turns and leaves. After he is gone, the young master expresses his concern. 2 million yuan isn't a small amount. Is this person really reliable? Old Master Han smiles. Then he asks whether his grandson felt it earlier. Lu Donglai's strength is absolutely not below Chen Yang's, and his medical skills are even more astonishing. Old Master Han says he spent his entire life in the military. These eyes have judged people for decades, and they have rarely been wrong. In his opinion, Lu Donglai is definitely no ordinary person. As for Lu Donglai, he's already walking away while calculating today's gains. 100,000 yuan in cash, a piece of spiritual iron, and potentially another 2 million yuan in 2 days. Just like that, his short-term money problems are practically solved. Then he suddenly slows down. His ears pick up something. Footsteps. 3 people, roughly 30 meters behind him. They've been following him for quite a while. Using his enhanced senses, he notices 3 shadows trailing him from a distance. Lu Donglai narrows his eyes. Are they here to cause trouble? Lin Nanong's people? Or perhaps Old Master Han's bodyguards, still suspicious of him? For the moment, he can't tell. As the shadows get closer, Lu Donglai listens carefully. Those footsteps, they're familiar. It's the same group from before. Boss Goon immediately warns his men to be careful. He reminds them that Lu Donglai's strength is absolutely terrifying. One of the others brushes it off and says their skills aren't something Boss Goon can compare to. Another points out that their mission isn't to fight Lu Donglai head-on anyway. The group continues following him. Lu Donglai quickly notices something. These people really don't learn. At this point, he starts wondering if there's any reason to hold back anymore. The footsteps get closer. Then Boss Goon finally speaks up and asks whether Lu Donglai expected them to come looking for him again. Lu Donglai admits that he really didn't. The answer catches them off guard. Then he turns around. His aura explodes outward. Instantly, the atmosphere changes. Lu Donglai asks them a simple question. He already defeated them once, so why are they throwing their lives away by coming back? Even Boss Goon feels the pressure. He immediately stops talking and orders everyone to attack. The other two don't hesitate. One says there's no need to be told twice. The other says they'll finish Lu Donglai right now. Then both rush forward. Lu Donglai watches them approach. They're stronger than ordinary people, but that's all. Compared to a cultivator at the second layer of chi condensation, they're not even close. At the same time, something doesn't add up. Boss Goon already knows how strong he is. There's no way he seriously believes these two can win. So what exactly is the objective here? Are they just here to get beaten up? Before he can think further, he moves. A blur. The two attackers lose sight of him. One of them can't even finish asking when he disappeared. Bang, bang. Lu Donglai strikes both of them in the chest at the same time. The two men are sent flying backward, screaming as they crash into the ground. Boss Goon's face twists. He curses and suddenly charges forward from behind. This time, he's holding a knife. He roars and tells Lu Donglai to go to hell. Lu Donglai turns around, looks at the blade, then casually catches it between two fingers. The knife stops dead. Boss Goon freezes. Lu Donglai reminds him that he already spared him once. Boss Goon asks what he's planning to do. Lu Donglai answers with a kick, straight to the face. Boss Goon crashes to the ground. Then Lu Donglai asks how much money Lin Nanong paid him to make him do something this stupid. Lying on the ground, Boss Goon suddenly starts laughing. Not nervous laughter, confident laughter. He tells Lu Donglai that he's dead this time. Lu Donglai asks what he means. Then WEO. Police sirens. Several police cars rush onto the scene. More arrive behind them. In seconds, the entire area is surrounded. Doors swing open. Officers pour out. One of them immediately shouts for everyone to stop moving. Then he orders them to put their hands on their heads and squat down. Lu Donglai quickly assesses the situation. At the second layer of chi condensation, he still can't withstand bullets head-on. And fighting the police would only create more problems. The officers raise their weapons and order everyone not to move. Hands up. Now, Lu Donglai immediately notices something strange. The timing is too perfect. Far too perfect. The thought crosses his mind that this can't be a coincidence. Then the lead officer gives the order, gathering a crowd to fight. Assault with a weapon. Take them all away. Lu Donglai immediately objects. He points out that he was the one being attacked. Everything he did was self-defense. Even the dagger belongs to the other side. The officer isn't interested. He asks how the dagger ended up in Lu Donglai's hands if it wasn't his. Then he says the evidence is already clear. According to him, there's nothing left to argue about. Another officer steps forward and tells Lu Donglai to save his explanations for the police station. Then the officers begin taking everyone away. As they're being escorted out, Boss Goon moves closer to Lu Donglai. A grin spreads across his face. He starts laughing. Then he tells Lu Donglai that he's finished. Lu Donglai says nothing. Inside the police vehicle, he finally asks what exactly they're trying to pull. The officer beside him remains silent for a moment. Then he asks a different question. Who did Lu Donglai offend? According to him, Lu Donglai should know the answer better than anyone. Lu Donglai immediately says the name, Lin Nanong. The officer laughs. Then he says that a mere abandoned pawn of the Lu family actually dared to offend young Master Lin. He warns Lu Donglai not to think that a little fighting ability allows him to do whatever he wants. In front of real power and influence, those skills mean nothing. Lu Donglai falls silent, but he doesn't forget. In his mind, he quietly adds another debt to the list. Lin Nanong. This debt will be repaid in the future, and not just once. Later, at the hospital, Lin Nanong receives an update. He asks whether the matter has been handled. The officer confirms that it has. According to him, Lu Donglai has already been taken into police custody. Hearing that, Lin Nanong smiles. Then he says there's no need to bother with the normal process. Skip the standard interrogation. Send him directly to prison. According to Lin Nanong, people are already waiting for him inside. Soon enough, Lu Donglai will learn exactly what happens when he offends the wrong person. Elsewhere, several rough-looking men sit inside the prison, waiting, watching the entrance, and laughing among themselves as they prepare for Lu Donglai's arrival. As the police car drives away, Lu Donglai suddenly speaks up. He says they really should have waited 2 more more days before arresting him. The officer beside him almost laughs. He asks whether Lu Donglai still hasn't figured out the situation. Young Master Lin wants him locked up, and he's talking about delaying it for 2 days. Lu Donglai calmly replies that they can still let him go now and keep their jobs. But if they insist on going through with this, then in 2 days they will regret the choice they made today. The moment he says it, a powerful aura fills the vehicle. For a brief second, the officer actually feels pressure. Then he gets angry. He asks who Lu Donglai thinks he's trying to scare. An abandoned pawn of the Lu family acting like some big shot? Another officer hesitates and quietly asks whether the kid might actually have some kind of background. The captain immediately shuts that down. Background? According to him, young Master Lin is the background. Then he tells the driver to stop wasting time and keep driving. Later, they arrive at West City Police Station. Lu Donglai is escorted out of the vehicle. One officer orders him to move. As they enter, another officer salutes a man waiting inside and reports that suspect Lu Donglai has been apprehended. The chief looks pleased, very pleased. He says the confession has already been signed for him. Then he orders them to send Lu Donglai directly to prison cell 137. Every officer immediately acknowledges the order. Lu Donglai looks at him and points out exactly what's happening. Forging evidence, framing the innocent. Isn't he afraid of being exposed? The chief pauses, then laughs. Exposed? According to him, everything in West City Police Station is under his control. He asks whether a college student really believes he can overturn the heavens. The room bursts into laughter. The chief then orders the officers to confiscate all of Lu Donglai's belongings. He doesn't want any surprises. One officer quietly reacts when he hears the cell number. Cell 137, the heavy felony block. According to him, this kid is finished. Another officer immediately tells him to stop talking and follow orders. As Lu Donglai listens, he pieces things together. The cell was prepared in advance. That means cell 137 is definitely part of the plan. Whatever is waiting inside isn't there by coincidence. Soon, he is escorted down the corridor. One officer casually tells him to get along well with his seniors. Another jokingly tells the inmates not to make too much noise. Then, clang, the cell door slams shut behind him. Lu Donglai slowly looks up. Several pairs of predatory eyes stare back at him, like wolves spotting fresh prey. One inmate informs the others that this is the kid young Master Lin specifically ordered them to take good care of. The leader of the group starts laughing. Then he tells his men to go first. Teach the newcomer the rules. The inmates grin and step forward. Lu Donglai quickly realizes something. To be able to bribe inmates in a heavy felony cell, Lin Nanong must have spent quite a bit of money. Even so, he remains completely calm. The inmates can't believe it. One of them walks over, grabs Lu Donglai's shoulder, and tells him that Brother Scar is talking to him. He should get down there and listen. Lu Donglai looks at him, then tells him to get lost. The inmate hesitates for a second. Then his face twists with anger. He curses and says that even without young Master Lin's orders, he's going to cripple Lu Donglai himself. With that, he throws a punch. Crack. Lu Donglai catches his arm and breaks it. Instantly, the inmate drops to the ground screaming and clutching his hand. The entire cell erupts. Everyone starts shouting at once. Brother Scar finally steps forward. He tells Lu Donglai that he clearly has some skills, but according to him, prison has its own rules. Then he places a hand on Lu Donglai's shoulder and starts threatening him, saying he'll make sure Lu Donglai suffers for offending young Master Lin. The surrounding inmates immediately start cheering him on. Some shout that Brother Scar should hurry up. Others say they want to see Lu Donglai taught a proper lesson. The entire cell becomes noisy. Brother Scar points at himself and orders Lu Donglai to kneel. Maybe then he'll be a little gentler. Lu Donglai responds by smacking his hand away. Brother Scar freezes. For a moment, he can't believe what just happened. Then Lu Donglai calmly repeats himself. Get lost. Now Brother Scar is furious. He curses and orders everyone to attack together. The inmates immediately begin closing in from all sides. Brother Scar laughs. According to him, young Master Lin already gave them permission to deal with Lu Donglai however they want. Then he gives the order. Take him down. The inmates rush forward, one after another. The entire cell surrounds Lu Donglai. As he looks around, Lu Donglai notices something. Every single one of these people carries the stench of blood, just as he expected. None of them are good people. At that moment, spiritual energy begins circulating through his body. This time, he has no intention of holding back. When facing vicious criminals like these, mercy is unnecessary, and Lu Donglai is ready to go all out. If you don't want to miss some nasty things which are about to happen here, subscribe right now and turn on all the notifications.